Hello and welcome to Awake Learning. Here is another part of environment terminology, biogeochemical cycle. What are the cycle, how the cycle is happening, what are the associated environmental factors with respect to the cycle will be studied in this session. See, what is biogeochemical cycle is our first question. See, bio means living, where geo is considered as rock. When it comes to the chemical, this is certain element. How these nutrients are cycling in the biosphere is called as biogeochemical or nutrient cycle. This is also called as nutrient cycle. So you hope you understood how the nutrients are cycling in the biosphere is called as biogeochemical cycle. And now, what are the types of biogeochemical cycles? Broadly, we have two types. One is gaseous cycle, another is the sedimentary cycle. This classification is based upon the reservoir, that is where the element is existing. The main reservoir of the element is deciding factor of this type. Okay, in the gaseous cycle we can see that air and water, see, atmosphere and hydrosphere are the main reservoir. Based on this we have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen cycles in the gaseous cycle. When it comes to the sedimentary cycles, the reservoir part is generally the sediment or the earth. So this is very important. So earth is the major reservoir in case of the sedimentary cycle. When it comes to the gaseous cycle, we have atmosphere and hydrosphere. See, in the sedimentary cycle we have phosphorus cycle, sulfur cycle and the calcium, potassium. These are the main cycles. See, another major difference is whenever the nutrients are withdrawing from the reservoir pool, the small quantity will be considered in the gaseous cycle. When it comes to the sedimentary cycle, large quantity will be withdrawn from the reservoir pool. This is also difference. And in the gaseous cycle, we have a complete cycle. So because of this, gaseous cycles are complete. When it comes to the sedimentary cycles, it takes very longer duration. Also, many influencing factor makes it to incomplete cycle. So because of this, sedimentary cycles are incomplete where gaseous cycles are complete. This is also the major difference. This is all about the types of biogeochemical cycles. And now oxygen cycle. Oxygen cycle is the gaseous cycle, as we know. How this oxygen is cycling in the atmosphere, biosphere and lithosphere is considered as the oxygen cycle. So here the largest reservoir pool is lithosphere. You need to understand the abundance of oxygen is present in the lithosphere on the earth crust in the form of silicates or oxides. See, when we compare the oxygen presence in the atmosphere we have only 0.35 percentage of oxygen component in the atmosphere. So largest quantity is present in the lithosphere. This is very important point. One must be aware of this thing. So smallest source of oxygen present in the atmosphere. So this is the final takeaway. So now the thing is how this free oxygen in the atmosphere is formed. There are two processes. One is the photolysis, another is photosynthesis. In the photolysis process, sunlight is responsible for making the free oxygen molecule. How it is possible? Whenever oxygen is associated with another molecule, it breaks down because of the sunlight energy. This is called as photolysis process. For example, if we take O3, ozone, it can be break down into the O2 with the help of sunlight. This is a simple example of photolysis. Now, when it comes to the photosynthesis process, here green plant utilizes the sunlight as well as the carbon dioxide. They will release the oxygen into the atmosphere. Generally, they have a chlorophyll pigment. With the help of this pigment, they will produce the food as well as they will liberate the oxygen into the atmosphere. See, plants need carbon dioxide, right? The major resources for carbon dioxide, animal respiration, decomposition process also release the carbon dioxide. Industrial combustion also releases the carbon dioxide. With using these resources, they will produce the oxygen. This free oxygen is very much needed for the animal respiration and decomposition process. In the decomposition process, some aerobic bacteria utilizes the oxygen for the decomposition. Industrial combustion is also required oxygen. This is how oxygen cycle is taking place. After this oxygen cycle, we need to know about the carbon cycle. See, now it is very easy to understand carbon cycle. As we studied earlier in the oxygen cycle, oxygen was the main focus. Here we are focusing on carbon cycle. Major circulation is same only. Here also we are seeing the photosynthesis process, respiration process, decomposition process. Here we are trying to focus on carbon cycle. That's all. See how the photosynthesis are getting the carbon dioxide from the environment. Basically we have the decomposition process, also animal respiration is taking place. After that the factory emissions is there. So with this the photosynthesis process happening, this carbon compound is stored here. This again decomposed or decayed or utilized by animals. How this carbon is transforming from the animal to the reservoir pool, or from the reservoir pool to the animal. This is how the circulation is happening here. Here we are focusing on the carbon, how the plant are utilizing this carbon dioxide and making the food. Also they are releasing the oxygen in the atmosphere. Here only we are focusing about the carbon dioxide. Basically in the photosynthesis process carbon dioxide is utilized, and in the respiration process this carbon content food will be oxidized, and this will liberate the carbon dioxide and water into the atmosphere. Even in the decomposition process the organic molecules are breaking down and releasing the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Also you can address the fossil fuel formation. The crude oil, coal and natural gases and heavy oils are formed, and they will release the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide into atmosphere when they undergo the burning process. When they oxidized they will release the enormous amount of the carbon dioxide and monoxide into the atmosphere. See, this is impacting the global warming. You all are aware that industrialization, urbanization, all these anthropogenic activities are impacting the environment or the climate. In a long run global warming is happening, greenhouse gas effect is happening. Because of this we are experiencing the rise in the temperature. This condition is not good for the survival of animals. So this is basic understanding of carbon cycle. This all we need to know about the carbon cycle. Both the oxygen cycle as well as the carbon cycle are of a similar nature. You all understood very clearly. Talking about water cycle is just a hydrological cycle. Here also the reservoir pool is hydrosphere. Because of this is also a gaseous cycle. See here the continuous of water molecule or the water movement is taking place in the atmosphere. See here we have a two kind of driving force. One is the solar radiation, another is the earth gravitational pull. This is the major factor. See now how this cycle begin. To the process of evaporation, water molecules initially in the liquid form, they will get sufficient heat and energy, they will get evaporate into the gaseous state. So in the gaseous state we can see the water molecule in our atmosphere, right? So through this evaporation from the surface of the water bodies or from the transpiration process in case of the plants, even in the plants also evaporation process is taking place. This is called as transpiration particularly. And after this two factor, that is evaporation and transpiration, the water molecule in the atmosphere form the cloud. This process is called condensation. After the condensation, these cloud will drift away with the wind, and when they meet cold air, they will start precipitating. Even the gravitation pull is also the responsible factor for the precipitation in particular area. This is how water cycle is taking place. And another cycle is nitrogen cycle. This is very important from the examination point of view. See, nitrogen abundance in the atmosphere is 78%. We have 78% of nitrogen in the atmosphere. We can see this is the most abundant element in our earth atmosphere, right? But plants are not able to assimilate this free available nitrogen gas. This has to be transferred into nitrates. This is nitrates actually. Nitrates form are assimilated by the plants. So this has to be converted from N2 to NO3. This process is called as nitrification. So in the initial stage we have a nitrogen component in various plants and animals. Also with the lightning process, the nitrogen will come into the picture. So this free available nitrogen act with certain microbials. So there are certain microbes in the legume plants. Legume plants is nothing but, for example, groundnut plant you can take. There the microbials will help to fix this nitrogen. So initially these nitrogen will be converted into the ammonia. This is called as ammonification. After the ammonia formation, this will convert into the nitrites. So nitrites, after the nitrites we can say the nitrates. This is the proper process. In generally we can have the nitrobacter and nitromonas. These are the major microbes involved in the conversion. So when ammonia is converted into the nitrates, in such cases nitrosomonas is involved. When the nitrites are converted into the nitrates, nitrobacter is involved. These are the two important bacteria responsible for the conversion of nitrites to nitrates. The final product is nitrates, that is the eatable form. You need to understand, eat means eating. So based on this you can remember. Sometime confusion might come here. So after this, plant will utilize, you know very well, in the fertilizer also we are utilizing the nitrogen. NPK component will be there. No, nitrogen is the major component. With the help of consumption of urea, we can see the nitrogen component in the fertilizer. This everything is utilized by the plant, and then the plants will again consumed by the animals. Like this the cycle is happening. In generally nitrogen cycle, what is nitrification, what is denitrification, what is ammonification, what kind of bacteria are involved, these question can be accepted here. See, denitrification is a process. Again these nitrates will go back into the atmosphere in the form of free nitrogen. So this is how the completion of a nitrogen cycle. And moving towards the sedimentary cycle, here the largest reservoir is the lithosphere. So here the phosphorus cycle, talking about the transfer of this phosphorus content from the living system to the non-living system, or you can say that from the rock to life. See, here the phosphorus is very important for our protoplasm content. Every living organism have the protoplasm content. See, it is very important constituent. Now the from the rock, with the process of, you can say that weathering process will be happening, and the deposition is happening, and water runoff is happening. With that, this phosphorus content is moving from one place to another place. Generally these are consumed by the living organisms. Like in the plants they will transfer, even the after the plants it will transfer to the animals. Again this will move into the soil, then in the long run it will get deposited in the rock structure. So this is how cycle is happening with respect to the phosphorus cycle. See, in the plant generally with the help of excreta it will come into the soil, and again it is consumed by the plants. This is also, we can connect this small cycle. In the bone, teeth, animals, the phosphorus content is very important. So this is how the phosphorus cycle happen. In the same way we can connect the sulfur cycle. So this is also a sedimentary cycle. Here the reservoir is the lithosphere, you already clear about it. The sulfur is the 10th most abundant element in our universe. This is very brittle, yellow color, and tasteless, odorless, and also non-metallic element. See, these are present in the rock. You can see the presence of these sulfides in the mineral form in the ocean region. In the ocean sediments we can also have the sulfate salts. So these will transfer from this reservoir pool to the living system. How the plant will consume it? In the sulfate form plant will be consuming. Sulfate is the form where taken up by the plant. So after the plant, again animal will be consumed, again it will come back to the soil system, then with the runoff and leaching process go back to the water system. So like this circulation is happening. Even in the atmosphere we can see the sulfur content, how the sulfur content is coming from the volcanization and some industrial burning of fossil fuels. This is how the cycle of sulfur is happening. See, this sulfur is very important micronutrients for the plant growth, also for human or any living organisms. It helps in the protein synthesis, DNA repair process, so energy generation process. For this, sulfur is required. So the sulfur is an essential component. See, more concentration of sulfur is also impacting. So you might heard about the acid rain. So in that sulfur content, if it is more, it is harming to the living habitats. So it is so important to reduce this emission. So industrial revolution and the human activities are now contributing much of the sulfur content to the atmosphere. Now the primary responsible thing is this industrial emission. The fossil fuel burning is the major contribution of the sulfur into the atmosphere. This kind of understanding is very important when it comes to the biogeochemical cycle. So with this learning, hope you understood everything about the biogeochemical cycle. If at all you have any concern, please let me know through the comment section.